All right, take three. First rule of this channel: we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel: this is not legal advice. So, welcome to week 14. How the sausage was made. Hopefully, you got done what needed to get done and either made your playoffs or got your buys. So, the guy I want to talk about to start off today is Drake London. He did 10 for 172 and a 2 point conversion. In a game that I thought was predictive against the Bucks defense. He did a career high. Finally got home. Against the bad coaching that they've had in Atlanta. And this is one of the things that I want to talk about when it comes to risk overall. The same process that will win me my league will lose me my league. And that's because I have to take the risk. I have to roll out the guys that have burned me, knowing that they're my best players. And I also have to be able to bench my best guys at certain points in the season because the matchup says to do so. And sometimes that thought process, one way or another, is going to lose me or win me a week. I'm either going to be wrong or I'm going to be right. And because it's fantasy and I don't control it, um, that same process to win me my league by making the risky move is the same one that's going to lose me one because I made the wrong risky move. And in this case, I was right about Drake London rolling him out. I rolled him out in my high school league. I got my points there. I'm going to lose that that lineup because of the fact that it didn't even dawn on me to bench CJ Stroud. Just slipped my mind to go hey, they're playing the Jets. I should probably go a different direction, and I didn't do that. And then I'm gonna that's what it cost me a buy in that league. My other league, the high stakes league, I needed to score 160 points to get a buy. I'm gonna come up a little short there, and in that one, that came down to pretty much I rolled the wrong kicker. So again, that's stuff that I can control and that I can't control. I hit the defense there. I hit my flex. Jalen Hurts finally blew up on my face. The big one on top of that is Mike Evans doing 1 for 8 almost also hurts me. But even in a game, even you could say, oh, it's the matchup AJ Terrell. I got to roll my best players out there. I'm not going to bench Mike Evans, even though it's maybe I should go a different direction here. There's a guy that maybe I don't want to play this. And when we talk about some of the guys going forward, like Lamar Jackson, I talked about with the weather, and the inconsistency, if he came up and he was the guy that disappointed this week, I wouldn't have been surprised. Well, he ends up being quarterback one, and that's how fantasy rolls out, where it's just am I going to take the boom that Lamar Jackson can do when he scores, does 11 or does 70 yards rushing to go along with 3 passing touchdowns? Am I going to risk that versus how inconsistent he's been and the weather? That's the thing I got to look at, because on the other side of the table, quarterback 2 right now going into the Monday night games, Desmond Ridder. And if you would have said this to me, Desmond Ridder is going to be quarterback 2, he's going to rush for a touchdown, he's going to have a 1 passing touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and then do 347 in that Arthur Smith offense, I would have been, I don't believe you. So that's how it goes. And then quarterback 3, Justin Fields, getting done what he needs to get done. Jake Browning is predictive. Matt Stafford's another one where it's hey, I wouldn't be playing this guy because it's a good defense in bad weather. And Matt Stafford throws 3 touchdown passes. So that's just how it goes. On a defensive side, I already talked this in the sit start show with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm always going to chase my volume, but I would not expect Zeke to be running back 1 on the week, and he was. And the other thing with Breece Hall, he's trending so downward that it looks like, hey, maybe I shouldn't play the guy. And then you just got to trust the talent and you got to trust the opportunity, and it's going to get home. Speaking of opportunity, Rachaad White is going to be running back 1 on the season. He's going to be a running back 1, not the running back 1. And he continues to get it done. And that partially is based off of volume in a not good offense. We're going to talk about Joe Mixon a little bit later, but going forward, same thing with Deebo Samuel. This is a guy that can cannibalize the other guys in the offense. They all get home this week. And sometimes you just got to go, he's my best player. He gives me these opportunities and I got to roll them out. And going into the playoffs, these are the guys that you just got to go hey, they're my best guys. I got to roll them out. This is the lineup that I've made. These are my best guys. There's only so much lineup shopping I can do, because then I get cute and then I lose. And that fine line between taking that risk and that being cute to be able to win your league, that's the one that we're trying to figure out how to predict that going forward on the week. So Deebo, Drake London, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, OJ Eldell Beckham. We'll talk a little bit more of that when we get to that game. Evan Ingram, if it don't, ain't Bronto, fix it. And again, this is another one like David Njoku. Hey, maybe the T League say sit him, and then he comes up and he has that big spike week that we've kind of been waiting for with David Njoku pretty much forever. 2 touchdown passes, Hunter Henry's still there. Isaiah Likely was predictive. George Kittle could get it done every week, and there's a Kyle Pitts sighting at tight end 6. So defensively, Saints were predictive. Vikings, maybe they're a good role against Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders. Broncos were definitely predictive against the Chargers. Bears were not necessarily a bad play. Goff can be a turnover machine. They're defense 4 overall, and then defense 5. Cowboys again against the turnover machine. So stuff that we can predict, stuff that we can't predict going into the box scores. So tomorrow night we have the Titans and the Dolphins. If I can get this to unstick itself, then we have the Titans and the Dolphins, the Packers and the Giants, and then if you didn't know, the Patriots beat the Steelers 21-18 on Thursday night. So sorry about that thing being up. I can't do anything about it. It just went away. So box scores: Buccaneers, Falcons. Cade Otton catches like a touchdown pass with 30 seconds left to go in the game. That's how it shook out. So it looked like it was going to be ugly in the first half. What was it? 12-10. Bijan with another safety, and then both teams explode for 17 points for the Bucks and 15 for the Falcons. 15 in the fourth quarter. Turns into a little bit of shootout that, again, I was like, I don't see how this game is going to turn into a shootout. Well, kind of turned into that. Baker Mayfield, 14 for 29, 2 touchdowns. Did finally get that rushing touchdown that I've been chasing all year long. And this is a game where I'm like, I'm just tired of chasing that rushing touchdown. And then it happens. So Rachaad White kind of turning into this volume-based guy on the ground. 25 carries, 102 yards. And then a little disappointing with the only 2 receptions on 2 targets for 33 yards and touchdown. Big news in this one: Mike Evans, 6 targets, only 1 reception for 8 yards. So that's going to probably cost a few people their bye weeks or their playoffs. Desmond Ridder, already talked about this as I try and swat a fly. Desmond Ridder does 26 for 40, 347, a touchdown and interception. Also vultures a touchdown on the ground. So from the Atlanta perspective, the Falcons perspective, Tyler Algier leads the team in rushing yards with 40 on 9 carries, but Bijan has 10 carries for 34 yards, does get the rushing touchdown. From a receiving standpoint, Bijan does 7 targets, 5 for 54. Now, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about on after waivers, but this is more what I would want to see from Bijan is just scoring opportunities and receiving work. And I don't care about how many rushing yards he gets, how many rushing opportunities. Like, that's not what we should be chasing. We should be chasing the receiving work, and the scoring opportunities should go through Bijan. And then Tyler Algier can get as many of those grinder yards as Arthur Smith wants to give him. So Drake London does do 11 targets, 10 for 172. And this is what we've been waiting on forever, with Drake London being treated like one of the best wide receivers in the game. And again, from all the metrics that we want, size, speed, and talent, contested catch guy, yak guy, all those things, this is what Drake London can do. And unfortunately for him and Bijan and Kyle Pitts, they're just attached to a really bad coaching staff. So Kyle Pitts does 6 targets, 3 for 57, and a touchdown along with 36. And again, these are really good from an overall tight end perspective because they're vertical. They're not these check down monsters. So that was what was going on in the Buccaneers and Falcons game. Bears and Lions, Jared Goff's a little bit of a turnover machine. He has 2 interceptions. And one of them was late to basically salt the game away. He does 20 for 37, 20 for 35, 161, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 for 66 and a touchdown. David Montgomery, 10 for 66, no touchdown. And then Montgomery did 3 for 19, and Gibbs did 3 for 16 through the air. The most important thing out of this game is Josh Reynolds got the touchdown, and Amon-Ra, 9 targets, 3 for 21. Sam Laporta, 2 for 23. That's probably going to cost some people going forward in this game. And again, Justin Fields, 19 of 33 through the air, 1 touchdown to go along with 12 for 58 and another touchdown. That's what you drafted him for. So the big news from the Bears is Roschon. So Khalil Herbert and D'Onta Foreman were both active. As soon as I saw that, I called up one of my league managers, or both my league managers, said we're not rolling him. We're yanking him from the lineup. That's how Drake London ended up, being salted away there. So Roschon, 1 carry for 6 yards in this matchup. D'Onta Foreman, 11 for 50. Sometimes you got to trust coach speak. They were talking to that they were just going to go with the hot hand, and obviously they were like, well, Roschon's not the hot hand. They were like, we liked them last week. We're not even going to let him sniff the field this week. So D'Onta Foreman, he did get the 11 for 50. Khalil Herbert, another 3 for 8, and then Foreman did 3 targets, 2 for 22. and don't really see anybody else being involved in the passing game from the running back perspective. DJ Moore, 10 targets, 6 for 68 and a touchdown. He's going to be interesting for redraft next year, especially depending on who the quarterback is with the Bears. Would like to see Justin Fields wind up someplace like Atlanta. Cole Kmet, 5 for 66 on 7 touchdowns, or seven targets, 7 touchdowns. We with. All right. Colts and Bengals. So overall, the Bengals jumped out 14-0. The Colts tied it on a defensive touchdown in the first half, and the Bengals just salted away in the second half. Did see that Jake Browning did leave with an ankle. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be for Jake Browning for the rest of the season. As I pull up the wrong thing, when it comes to their schedule, he's going to have at least one more game that he can be rolled out if he's healthy, and that's probably going to be against the Vikings in the first round. And I don't know how much I would trust them against the Steelers and the Chiefs. Even the Vikings, after what the Vikings did to the Raiders, I don't know how much I would trust any of that. But he has a little bit, he does have the ability to be rolled out these last few weeks to finish this off. He was 18-24, 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then did vulture another touchdown on the ground. And that's going to really help him. So that's not something I think we can expect. So Joe Mixon, 21 for 79, 1 touchdown, inefficient, but that's volume based and the offense is functioning. Chase Brown, I said I was going to talk about this. So Chase Brown only had 8 carries for 25 yards, but he did get it done again. 3 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown along a 54 on 3 targets. And I could definitely see the more that he is efficient in one way or another, the more he's going to cut into Joe Mixon. But the other thing is this may end up being the identity of the offense because Jamar Chase disappointed on 4 targets, 3 for 29. And then T. Higgins, 4 targets, but did do 2 for 72 to at least give you close to a 40-degree day. Tanner Hudson sort of been chasing him, sort of haven't. The tight end for the Bengals, he did get a receiving touchdown. So overall from the Colts, Gardner Minshew, 26 for 39, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, serviceable, I would say. Zach Moss, again, this looked like a free RB1 coming off the wire. He just hasn't been efficient since he got the backfield from Jonathan Taylor's injury. 13 for 28 on the ground, and that's to go along with 4 for 28 on 8 targets. Michael Pittman, wide receiver 1, usage still 8 receptions, 95 yards on 11 targets. The interesting thing here with Will Mallory, and I've kind of been trying to flip this over in my head, and I'll talk about it more later, but he did 5 targets, 5 for 46 as that tight end, and he's one of the ones that we've kind of been trying to follow what's going on with these tight ends from a dynasty perspective in Indianapolis. All right. Jaguars, Browns, and the Browns basically just like held this game and were able to stay in control all the way to the end. Jaguars were able to make it a little bit close at the end. So Trevor Lawrence was active, 3 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, 28 of 50, 257. Travis Etienne, 14 for 35 and a touchdown. Dearness Johnson really wasn't a thing in this game. So the interesting breakdown of the Jacksonville receiving line right now, Evan Engram did 12 targets, 11 for 95, 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, 13 targets, but only 4 for 53. So he's still going to be boom bust more likely, just going to be a disappointment overall. ETN, 4 targets, 4 for 37. Zay Jones, again, there's going to be a Zay Jones week, 14 targets, 5 for 29. Parker Washington, 3 targets, 2 for 27, did get a touchdown, also fumbled. He's going to be another guy to be paying attention to in this offense. And again, I just think that it's just how the offense is going to roll. It's going to be really difficult to decide who's going to be the guy who's going to get the work on a week-to-week basis. Probably just by design how Jacksonville runs itself. So Joe Flacco going to be pretty close to, he's going to be interesting. I don't know if he's going to be fantasy relevant again. 26 to 45, 3 touchdowns and interception. Jerome Ford, I think he did go out with an injury, so that's something to be paying attention to. 12 for 51 on the ground. Kareem Hunt, 10 for 27, vulture to touchdown. David Njoku, 8 targets, 6 for 91, 2 touchdowns. Sometimes when you're wrong. Did say think about benching him. Amari Cooper was active, 14 targets, 7 for 77. As soon as he's active, our dreams of Elijah Moore spike week go out the window. 6 targets, 3 for 42. David Bell, the second-year guy, he did have a 41-yard touchdown on a 4th down late. Jerome Ford, 6 targets, 5 for 31. So if he's healthy, that's what's, again, I've been saying this is going to keep him in RB2 land. And then we're still tracing that Cedric Tillman spike week, 4 targets, 2 for 23. It would have been nice if that would have been David Bell, but it wasn't. Anyway, Panthers and Saints. The interesting thing I saw a little bit about this is that the Panthers were able to make it a 1-score game early in the third quarter when they were down 14-6 when they kicked the field goal. Other than that, like, it's pretty predictable game. Saints did score on a touchdown or fumble, and they blocked a kick. You see it right there in the corner. They blocked a punt and took it to the end zone. So Bryce Young, 13 for 36. That's, basically what he's been doing. Chuba Hubbard, volume-based guy, 23 for 87. Miles Sanders, 10 for 74, the cuff. And then Adam Thielen, again, don't listen to me sometimes, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 74 yards. Jonathan Mingo did have 9 targets, so we're still chasing that 2 for 22. It should happen, maybe. It's just, there are probably better guys I would be chasing at this point in the season. Derek Carr, and this is one thing I talked about last week with the Falcons playing the Jets. Sometimes a bad coach doesn't mean that he's stupid. That means that you don't have to give bad teams opportunities to beat you when you don't have to. You can play very conservatively, just allow them to beat themselves, like allowing you to block a kick for a touchdown. Derek Carr, very pedestrian, 18 for 26, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And that goes along with, 100 yards combined rushing between Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams, 12 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown for Kamara. Jamal Williams, 11 for 43. A.T. Perry did have a 1 reception for 44 yards. Chris Olave, again, did get a touchdown, but 5 targets for 4 receptions for 28 yards. Lynn Bowden, this is a guy that I've sort of been looking at. I don't think outside of really deeper leagues he's going to really do anything. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 24 yards, like slot type gadget guy. Jimmy Graham did vulture a touchdown, and I don't think Taysom Hill was even active in this game right now. All right. Jets, Texans. So this is one of the things, like, taking risks. It did not even occur to me in my high school league to bench CJ Stroud against the Jets. Now, he did leave with a concussion, but overall, like, he only had 91 yards passing in this game. So this is one of the things, like, I didn't even think about the fact that, hey, I should bench the guy that got me there, and it probably is going to cost me a bye moving forward. So that's something to be aware of when it comes, like, it's the same process of win me my league will lose me my league. Sticking with a guy because he got me there can be as bad of a play as, well, this is a bad matchup, I'm going to bench the guy. And that's the fine line of when can we do these things and they're smart, and when can we do these things and they're cute. As long as I can wake up on Monday and go, like, this was the right play, even though it didn't work out this time, that's a lot different than, like, this is the cute play and I'm just going to show the guys up in my league. And that's kind of what we're thinking about here with the theory behind it. So Devin Singletary, 13 for 65 and a touchdown. I was expecting the Dameon Pierce to eat into this a little bit, and I don't know how bad this game was. So it was 0-0 at halftime. The Jets did score 2 touchdowns. Houston did get it within, did get another, I think it was 2 field goals. And then the Jets did score 2 late touchdowns to put it out of reach. So yeah, that's just how the game shook out. I could pull the Gamecast up, so I'm just not talking. So you have, Randall Cobb scores, Gibson scores, Singletary scores to make it a 1-score game. Breece Hall scores, and then you have 3 Jets field goals to salt it away in the fourth quarter overall, and that's with CJ Stroud going out with a concussion. So the other guy, Nico Collins, did go out, I think, with a calf injury. He only had 1 target for 13 receptions before that, or 1 target for 1 reception for 13 yards before he went out. And the only other guy we're really tracking, maybe John Mechie, didn't happen, but again, this is the matchup, and then your quarterback going out. Brevin Jordan did have 3 targets for 3 receptions, 35 yards, and then Mechie did lead or tie for the lead overall with targets with Noah Brown, who had no receptions with 5 overall in this game. So Zach Wilson, and this is another thing when we talk about, like, getting cute and following the tea leaves. So Zach Wilson is the quarterback 13 overall on the week right now. 27 of 36, 301, 2 touchdowns. And that was against, like, probably, I would say, like, Defense 2 overall. If I had to guess like how I would have ranked these guys, the Saints would have been number 1 for me. I think I had Houston 2 after that. And then so like yeah, and so Houston's defense is really disappointed, but Zach Wilson was able to get this done. Again, rolling out your guys. So volume, and you do want it to be a part of a good offense, but volume is always going to be king. And then you got to trust the guys sometimes. So Breece Hall, I did sit him in one of my leagues, and he burns me with that overall running back 3 finish. Because it's just like, well, this is how bad the offense is. No, this is how bad the coaches are in for the Jets, because they benched Zach Wilson, not because he was the worst quarterback, because they were trying to prove something, because they were just like, we need to get a spark. And then you play Zach Wilson, who was serviceable during his run. This is not the Zach Wilson apology channel. And then all of a sudden, oh, look, your toys are actually have some value to them. You could have won these games. You're just morons, right? So Breece Hall 10 for 40. And then Xavier Gibson vultures a touchdown. Garrett Wilson 9 for 108 on 14 targets, and then Breece Hall does 9 targets, 8 for 86 and a touchdown. Randall Cobb does get another touchdown on his 1 reception. So again, like this is going to be interesting going the rest of the way. And I should pull this up before I talk about this a little bit more. So whether or not the Jets 2 players, and it's really only Breece and Garrett Wilson. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to play the rest of the year. It would surprise me if he did. But they got the Dolphins, the Commanders, and that would be a game in the semis that I would be really interested in rolling out my Jets pieces, as bad as that defense has been. And then probably not the Browns. So you might be able to get away with rolling out the Dolphins pieces for at least the first in the semis from a fantasy perspective. But again, trusting your pieces in the matchup, and going back to like how not bad Zach Wilson has been to at least keep these guys on track from a fantasy perspective. Again, not the Zach Wilson apology channel. I'm just talking about the fact that like at least he got the guys to where they needed to go from a fantasy perspective, because I don't care about real football on this channel. So overall, Baltimore Ravens, Rams, when you're wrong, you're wrong. This was a game I was like, I wouldn't be rolling out any of my pieces. It ends up being a overtime punt return that the Ravens get home on, and then you have an combined 68 points in what looked like a bad weather game. So Matt Stafford 23 for 41, 3 touchdowns. 1 goes to Cooper Kupp, 1 goes to the rookie Davis Allen, who is from like Georgia or Clemson. I don't know anything about this guy. So he's something I got to be paying attention to. 5th round pick. So he comes in for Tyler Higbee. Vacated targets have to go someplace. Well, they go right back to the tight end position. Puka Nacua 5 for 84 on 8 targets, so he gets home along with Kupp. The only guy I was really interested in playing is Kieran Williams. He does 25 for 114. A lot of that came early. They just rode him into the ground, and then he was able to do another 4 targets, 3 receptions, -1 yards. Again, the only thing he didn't do is score, because that's what he's been doing. So then Lamar Jackson, from a Baltimore perspective, very inconsistent, but that's what you kind of pay for. His upside in a game that I was like, oh, we shouldn't be playing this guy. And then he goes out and he's quarterback 1 overall, 24 for 43, 3 touchdowns and an interception, and then another 11 for 70 on the ground. So the backfield shakeout between Keaton Mitchell, 9 for 54, and then Gus Edwards, 6 for 15. And then Keaton Mitchell, only 1 reception on 2 targets overall, excuse me. Odell Beckham, 10 targets, 4 for 97 and a touchdown on a long of 46. I don't know yet. Isaiah Likely, again, I would say that he was a low end to mid range tight end 1, could end up being, the number 2 overall target in this offense. So that would keep him sustainable, but he does have a long of 54 and a touchdown to go with 5 for 83 on 7 targets. And then Zay Flowers does get another 10 targets, 6 for 60 and a touchdown. So yeah, a game that I was like, yeah, probably don't want to be rolling toys out because of how non-predictive it is. And then sometimes you just have to not be cute and just do the rational, reasonable thing, and just keep those guys in there that have got you there, rolling them out. So Vikings Raiders, really ugly game. Got to talk about this one really fast. I think the Vikings kicked a field goal with like 1:30 left to go in the game. That was all the scoring that happens. Josh Dobbs got benched. Justin Jefferson left with a chest injury. TJ Hawkinson barely got it done. 8 targets, 5 for 53. Jordan Addison couldn't get it done. 2 for 27. Alexander Madison left with an ankle. He was 10 for 66. So we're going to be chasing Tyler Chandler in the next week right now, 12 for 35 going forward. Don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Wouldn't even be surprised if they go to Jaron Hall next week. So Aiden O'Connell, 21 to 32, one interception. Josh Jacobs did leave with a knee, 13 for 34. Again, probably chasing Zamir White. But again, this is going to be at best a high volume guy in a bad offense or a not good offense. And then Devontae Adams, 10 targets, 7 for 53. That's really the only thing we need to be worried about going forward. Seahawks 49ers 49ers just beat them down. No Geno Smith in this game. Drew Lock did 22 for 31, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Zach Charbonnet did lead the backfield, 9 carries for 44 yards. Kenneth Walker, 8 for 21. DK did have a touchdown catch, but then he got ejected for fighting. Tyler Lockett, 6 targets, 6 for 89. And then JSN had 7 targets, but only 4 for 25 on the ground. Kenneth Walker, 4 for 33 through the air. Charbonnet, only 1 reception. From a 49er standpoint, Brock Purdy, 19 for 27, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey did 16 for 145, no touchdowns. Jordan Mason got the rushing touchdown. Debo also got a rushing touchdown. So Debo did 7 for 149, a touchdown, long 54 on 9 targets. I did see that the underdog guys, they've been talking about this for a while. Debo tends to do better against teams that run zone, and the Seahawks run a lot of zone. But, and this is why I say you can't always trust this stuff, Brandon Ayuk, 9 targets, 6 for 126. He's the guy who usually does well against man. So if you're chasing that type of thing, it can burn you. Got to play your best players. So outside of teams in fantasy that have Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, or a combination of those guys, you're just rolling them out, and you're hoping you can survive that sub 40-degree day, but they also are probably going to win you the week. And it just depends on like when they happen and can you survive that. So the other thing is Kittle did 3 for 76, did get a touchdown, long of 44. Surprisingly, Christian McCaffrey only 1 target, 1 for 8. All right, let's see if we can finish this up and I can get out of here. Bills Chiefs. So this came down the end. The Patrick Mahomes freaked out because the refs are, being the refs this year. It looked like the Chiefs were going to win on a lateral from Kelsey to Tony, but Tony lined up off sides. And then, that was pretty much your game. Trying to remember how it finished, but I don't remember how the actual game finished. Let's see. Downs with 59 seconds left to go. That's how it finished. So if you're curious about that overall, I did kind of watch this in the background as I was finishing some stuff up. So forgive me for not exactly knowing what happened. So Josh Allen, 23 for 42, 233, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. James Cook does 10 for 58. Josh Allen, 10 for 32, gets his touchdown on the ground. James Cook, 5 for 83, a touchdown, 5 targets. I did talk about this after the change in OC. It does look like James Cook is going to get the receiving work, and they are using him consistently in the offense. So I think he's a pretty safe RB2 rest of the way. Dalton Kincaid did get knocked out with a shoulder. Dawson Knox is the guy that basically steps in, 3 for 36. He's going to be an interesting potential waiver wire pickup depending on the Dalton Kincaid news. And then Stephon Diggs, disappointment, 11 targets, 4 for 24. Gabe Davis, only 2 targets, goose egg behind that going forward. So Kansas City, stuff that we knew, stuff that we thought, and what actually occurred. So Patrick Mahomes still going to be inconsistent, 25-43, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Clyde led the backfield on 11 carries, 36 yards, wasn't totally efficient. Jared McKinnon, 4 for 19, did get the red zone carry for a touchdown. All right. Travis Kelce, 10 targets, 6 for 83. Rashee Rice, 10 targets, 7 for 72, and a touchdown. Did lose a fumble overall. And then again, I talked about Kadarius Toney getting the offsides penalty late. So Jerick McKinnon, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 18 yards, and then Clyde, 4 targets, 2 for 29. So if Pacheco continues to be out, I think we can continue to think that that's going to be how the backfield shakes out. Clyde's going to get the volume. That McKinnon is going to get the higher value touches in the red zone. But again, Rashee Rice is probably going to be the guy that ends up being the overwhelming beneficiary of this. So again, it doesn't necessarily see 4-yard pass from Rashee Rice. He's the receiving back in the end zone. I can overall, McKinnon is going to have that value, but again, if you're going to chase a guy purely based off the red zone usage, and I don't think that's a bad call, especially. But this isn't the same offense that we've seen in the past that's scoring like 30 points a game. This offense is going to be closer to 20. There's going to be less scoring opportunities to go to them. They still have Kelsey. They're going to have Rashee Rice. So again, you're going to be rolling a guy out in your lineup that has 4 carries and or 3 targets in this game, 7 total opportunities, hoping that he gets a touchdown in an offense where when they do get to the goal line, if depending on whether or not Pacheco comes back or not, he's probably going to be the number 3. And I can still see that going forward when I get the stats for tomorrow, that Clyde may have been given some red zone carries, so it just may not be that predictive going forward with Jerick McKinnon. And again, that would be going into next week if with or without Isaiah Pacheco. So there's a lot of stuff to break down just because he got home with a rushing touchdown in this game when it seems like that's what he does every year. All right. Broncos and Chargers. Again, this one was predictive that the Chargers are not good / unpredictable, inconsistent on offense going up against the Broncos, who've been better. So Russ does 21 of 33, 224, 2 touchdowns and interception to go along with only 6 carries for 5 yards on the ground. Javonte Williams, and I hesitate to say this, but I'll just go ahead and say it. He's probably going to be a low-end RB1 the rest of the way. 17 carries, 66 yards, does get a rushing touchdown, and that's to go along with 4 targets, 3 receptions for 25. Courtland Sutton, don't care how the sausage is made. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 62 yards, does get a receiving touchdown overall. Then there's an Adam Troutman sighting on his touchdown catch. So Justin Herbert, this is pretty big news. Justin Herbert leaves with a index finger injury. Easton Stick finishes off the game. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. Justin Herbert wasn't very good. 9 for 17 for 96 yards and an interception. Austin Eckler was able to salvage his day between 1 rushing touchdown and 7 targets, 5 for 49. Quentin Johnston, 4 targets, 3 for 91, long of 57. Kind of what we were hoping that he was going to be able to get the more productive, lower probability plays going down the line. Keenan Allen, 12 targets, 6 for 68. And depending on what goes on with Justin Herbert, because I could definitely see that they just shut him down to finish off the season now that they're 5-8. This would definitely hurt all the Chargers' toys. So this is something to be monitoring going into the fantasy playoffs. All right, Eagles, Cowboys to finish this off today. This absolute beatdown by the Cowboys. You see the Cowboys scored 10 or let's see, yeah, it's not right. They says that it was 10-7 overall. No, that wasn't. So the Cowboys jumped out early, and then the touchdown that the Eagles scored was this 42-yard touch fumble return by Jalen Carter. Because I was kind of watching this game too. So overall, like the Cowboys just jumped out early. They scored touchdowns. The Eagles didn't. It was 24-6 at halftime. You had Rico Dowdle vulture a touchdown from Tony Pollard in the first half. You had Michael Gallup get one before the end of the first half. Overall, CeeDee Lamb got his touchdown in the first half. Dak, 24 for 39, 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, a little inconsistent, 16 for 59, but you got to like the 8 targets, 7 for 37 going forward, attached to this offense. Rico Dowdle was being worked in. Again, that touchdown did come when the game was still relevant, 12 for 46. And again, this is something I actually would like from a fantasy perspective, with the exception of the stealing the rushing touchdown. If I'm a Pollard owner, I do want Dowdle to come in and get the less efficient carries, so you can get back to efficient Tony Pollard to finish off the season. Jake Ferguson, if not, he is a top 10 tight end. He's another 2 option in this offense. 8 targets, 5 for 72, leads with the receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb, 10 targets, 6 for 71, does get that touchdown. Brandon Cooks does disappoint. 5 targets, 2 for 37. But again, outside of maybe that desperation wide receiver 2, he's going to probably be able to get you home at least one game. So overall, Jalen Hurts, no touchdowns in this game. Does have a fumble lost, so he is a little bit of a turnover machine. DeAndre Swift again disappoints, 11 for 39, and no receiving work. Let's see, AJ Brown 13 targets, 9 for 94, and Devontae Smith 10 targets, 5 for 73. They both get home this game, at least a 40-degree day. And what would be an overall ugly game, no touchdowns, and then Dallas Goedert returns 4 for 30 in this game. So yeah, that's about it. We'll come back tomorrow with Chasing the Dragon, the priority reactive waiver wire pickups with the injuries that we have going on to like your Josh Jacobs, and whoever else I can think of, not off the top of my head right now. Those would be the guys that we're looking at. Alexander Madison, going forward. That would be what that show is about, and then coming back with your after waivers on Tuesday. So yeah,